Hi there. Welcome to Unstuck and Unstoppable. I'm Rebecca, and today I'm going to be sharing the second session with you about manifesting. Based on this book, I hope you've got a copy of it. We're going to follow along in this book and get some results when it comes to manifesting. Today, I'm going to share with you the 10 tips, which are on page 4 of this book. And I'm going to give you some real life examples of how you can apply each tip to your life to make manifesting so much easier. The first tip that we're going to come up with in this book is the magic notebook. It's always good to write down your goals and your desires, because when you write them down in cursor, not typing, but actually writing it, it affects your brain. They've proven this with studies they've done at universities like Harvard. The people who write down their goals and the things that they want to manifest in their lives get much better results than people who don't. So it's always important to have a magic notebook. And one time I wrote in my magic notebook, I'd moved back to my hometown and I wanted to build a house 2 miles from the beach. I wrote it down that I wanted this house that was 2 miles from the beach with 3 bedrooms and certain things, Cape style house. And do you know, less than a year later, I found that magic notebook and I had built a house 2 miles, exactly 2 miles from the beach in my hometown. And it was a 3-bedroom house. It was exactly the way I envisioned it. And even though I had gone through some very difficult times, it happened. It is amazing how your subconscious mind can bring into your experience what you desire if you write it down and you actually feel like you've already gotten it. It's very, very key. You don't get what you want. You get what you are, what you believe you are. And if you believe something, that you own it, it becomes real for you. So that's one example of writing it down. I've always kept a magic notebook where I like to write down in the present tense what it is that I'm working on. And if you look at it a couple of times a day, at least 3 times is even better. Very good to look at it before you fall asleep at night, when you wake up in the morning. And you can write down up to 3 things that you can work on while you're using this technique of the magic notebook. Write it down, feel like you've already gotten it, write it down in the present tense. You can even enhance it by writing a story about the details of what you feel like owning it, being it, having it, and it works magically. That's why I call it the magic notebook. The second point in this 10 tips is to spend 3 days avoiding negative conversations. You know, we are vibrational beings, and it's our energy that keeps us moving ahead. You have to keep yourself in a positive state of mind. How do you do that? You avoid the negative and you focus on the positive. One time, I did this exercise, spending 3 days without talking negatively, and I was working on the airplanes as a crew member because I was a flight attendant, remember, for 35 years. And I walked away from many conversations because they were going negative. So I was really watching my thought for 3 days. This will turn you into an observer. You want to be more of an observer and not a reactor to everything around you, because the inner world is controlling the outer world. The third thing is turn off the news. The news is a program that's constantly being fed to you to program you. And we know now that, the media is used to program us, be it movies, music, the news. It's pretty easy to figure it out at this stage of the game that we're being programmed. And, we're very easily programmed the first 7 years of our lives. That's why many times we have to spend the rest of our lives deprogramming ourselves and working on ourselves and doing that inner work. And the more you do that, the better you can be as a manifester. And it's always important to understand when you're a young person that this programming is taking place, and you can program yourself to be a better version of yourself. That's why I recommend getting this book for young people in their teens. so they can start to understand that they are master manifestors. I know when I got this information at age 21, I was horrified and shocked that I had never heard before the power of using our imagination to go within to manifest. And once I got that message and that information and started using it, I found like I felt like I'd found the genie in the bottle, and it's never stopped because I love to study consciousness and spirituality and dig deeper and deeper into the topic of consciousness. The next thing is number 4, where you can brainwash yourself into believing that you are the living version that you wish to become and live like it's already happened. You know, it was very easy to do this when I was a crew member because I would just get on the jet, imagine that I had my own private jet with my own pilots, and I was flying off to a beautiful location for a vacation. Even though I was a working crew member, I could do that. I could imagine. And it worked for me. It made life much more interesting. So as I was jetting off to Paris or Buenos Aires or Tokyo, I felt, like I was a jet setter. And that's a good place to be if you want to feel like you're living at that level. It made life very, very interesting and very rich. And you can do the same thing. Go hang out in places that you feel like, if you were living the life you'd be hanging out in. You don't have to necessarily spend a lot of money to do it. You can just go have a cup of coffee or, something to eat in a nice restaurant, or, walk down a street where you might go shopping once you've arrived at where you want to be, or just, feel like you're already living in that state. When I wanted to write a book, I had to feel like I was an author, but I didn't really know how to feel like I was an author because I'm not a writer. Authors aren't necessarily writers, come to find out. They can hire ghostwriters and work with other people to get their message out. So I went to a life coach, and the light bulb went on when he said one thing to me: you can write your book wherever you are. So I went home, I found someone to partner with, and we worked on it for 3 years. The Secrets of a Metaphysical Flight Attendant. Go check it out. It's on Amazon. It's in my website, RebeccaTripp.com. And then the next thing is you can use sleep to reprogram your subconscious mind. In this book, which you really need to pick up, it's $14.95 in Amazon. Go to my website, RebeccaTripp.com, and you can see the link. But you want to learn how to do the mental video technique. And that means as you're falling asleep at night, you need to make a mental video of what it is you're working on and project it onto your mental screen as you're falling asleep and drifting off into alpha, theta. You go down into delta when you're sleeping at night. That's when you have one foot in the spiritual dimension and one foot in the material. And your higher self knows how to go out and find what it is that you're looking for. That's how you manifest. You connect with your higher self. You become magnetized. If you make it a win-win situation where you're helping not just yourself, but 2 or more people, you'll get the results you want. You need to go more deeply into this topic because it's fascinating, and all the mystics have tried to teach people how you can go within, because the inner world is what's creating your outer world. The next one is give yourself self-care and treat your body and your mind the way you would like to be treated. Many people deny themselves comfort, good food, relaxation. You need to be able to be comfortable in this life so that you can relax and you can let go and you can live in the present. And the more you practice being in the now, forgetting about your past, whatever bothered you there, or projecting yourself into your future and worrying about it, the happier you will be. Eckhart Tolle did a whole career on the power of now, living in the now. All the mystics are teaching this is very key to being a good manifester, because if you're projecting into your future or dwelling on your past, you're putting up roadblocks. You're not in the moment. The more you become completely present in the moment, the better you are able to manifest. The next one is to use self-inquiry to neutralize adverse reactions and thoughts and realize that you can constantly shift your perception from negative to positive. Be aware that you do not have to react to what is happening around you. That's a very good thing to practice. When things start to get ugly or negative, when there's conflict, when there's divisiveness, when there's differences of opinion, you're better off going neutral. I remember one time I was driving back from Boston and a young man who had just gotten his license rear-ended me. He looked down to pick up a piece of paper and the traffic had come to a complete stop and he slammed into the back of my car, which happened to be a Mercedes that I was driving back then. And I really liked the car, but boy, did he hit me hard. Everything flew in the cabin of the car. And I just sat there. Police showed up, of course. And, but the thing that was so fascinating to me was I didn't react. It was kind of like a non-event. I just sat there and it kind of shook me that I didn't react more than the event itself. I have learned that what's the point of getting yourself worked up over an accident or a situation? You're better off just staying neutral. Policeman came along. He looked at my car. He said, yeah, you can drive your car home. It went to the shop for, I think, a couple of months to get fixed. But, everything was taken care of. And I didn't get myself worked up over it. It just was what it was. If you can't change something, if you're, getting yourself all worked up because you can't handle something that's going on, you're better off going neutral and doing that work on yourself, because getting yourself in a state and not being able to control your emotional state is one of the reasons you're not a good manifester. You have to find your center. The swing of the pendulum, being high when things are good and low when things are bad on the outer world, is just not a good place to be. The extreme cases are called bipolar or mentally ill. But if you can find that center place where nothing is either good or bad, and you're not going to react to it in a powerful, out of control way because you've learned this too will pass, you're better off. The next thing is that there is no outside world and you are the master of your fate. You can take control and stop being a victim. Claim your sovereignty. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. That was what I learned when I had my own personal awakening, that we are truly sovereign. That's what learning how to be a good manifester is partially all about. Once you connect with your higher self, that is eternal, that knows everything because it can look around corners, it knows your future already because it doesn't live in three-dimensional time. Time and space are not what we think they are in the higher realms where your soul resides. So if you start to connect with your higher self, you will find that you will be guided and you will use your intuition. When it kicks in, you'll know that you're supposed to listen, and you will be guided towards something that's good for you or away from something that's not so good for you. That's how it works. And then when you get that supreme confidence that you have found this inner guidance within you, you get rid of fear and anxiety and you sleep through the night. How good is that? It's pretty good. So the next one is, when a negative thought arises, practice saying, cancel, cancel. You have to train yourself to be a positive person. If you're constantly defaulting to the negative, oh, nothing good ever happens to me. I just can't deal with what's going on because you don't find a solution. Metaphysical people know there is always a solution, even when it looks like it's pretty dicey. They absolutely know that somehow, some way, there will be a solution. You might be lifted out of a situation. The solution will show up in the most amazing synchronistic way, because we're all connected. We're all working together, whether we know it or not. And the more we understand this and begin to operate from that center of optimism, knowing that we are a child of God, and because we're made in God's image and likeness, and God is only good, we have nothing to fear. And we can absolutely free ourselves from anxiety, stress, all those negative emotions that you want to get rid of because they block you from being a good manifester. So I hope this helps. And I really hope that you'll get this book, because the more we work with this for the next 8 weeks, the more we will get ourselves squared away and centered. There's never been a better time for this, because we are in the midst of the great awakening. Many people are getting fearful and negative, and you need to know how to deal with that. You need to be more of a leader in your situation so that you can help people that are feeling like they're coming unglued. They don't know how to solve their problems, or, young people really, really, really need this kind of training. I wish I'd gotten it when I was in high school, college, church, but we didn't really talk about it. Yes, it's up to parents to bring in these concepts, but they weren't taught about these things. It's kind of hidden from the human race until you reach the point where you really want to find out, what are we doing here? And you start digging. And if you dig enough, the teachers will appear. That's how it works, because we are these magnetic beings that attract into our experience what we're looking for. And if you're looking for a teacher, teachers are looking for you. So my suggestion is, start to really do this work and follow along as we do this 8-week mastermind, and you will get results. I've had other people that have been working with this book now that have been getting tremendous results, and very life-changing. You don't have to be stuck. If you've got health, wealth, or happiness problems, there is always, always, always a solution.